Located in the Mariana Islands chain in the North Pacific, Anatahan is a small island that is now completely deserted due to its volcanic structure. Although it was once inhabited, what is truly remarkable is not its nature, but the events that took place here during World War II, which challenged human psychology. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Before the war, the island was used for coconut production. Seasonal workers were brought to this Japanese-controlled island, and once the harvest was complete, everyone returned home. One of those workers was Kikuchiro. He was accompanied by his cousin Shoichi and Shoichi's wife Kazuko. The three of them had a simple goal: work for a while, earn some money, and then return home. However, life did not go as planned. After a while, Shoichi realized he hadn't heard from his sister, who was working on another island for a long time. This gnawing anxiety grew steadily. Finally, he decided to set out to look for his sister, entrusting Kazuko to his cousin Kikuchiro. As he left, he promised his wife that he would return soon and take her home with him. But that return never happened. After Shoichi's departure, Kikuchiro and Kazuko waited for him while continuing to work to survive. They harvested crops, fished, and hunted. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. But there was no news from Shoichi. A full year passed. Meanwhile, the world had been drawn into war. But they were completely unaware of this. No new workers came to the island, nor did any ships stop by. Moreover, their only means of transportation had left with Shoichi. They were completely alone, in the middle of the Pacific. This loneliness gradually eroded the distance between them. Shared hardship, uncertainty, and the struggle to survive brought them closer together. The bond between Kikuchiro and Kazuko gradually became emotional. As the realization that Shoichi would not return began to weigh heavily, the two people established a new order within their own circumstances. On the island, they began to live as if they were married. Over time, they improved their shelter, created a small living space, and focused on survival. Then, in the middle of the second year, everything changed. 32 soldiers who survived the attack on 3 Japanese warships by the American Navy reached the shores of Anatahan. These wounded and exhausted soldiers recovered with the help of Kikuchiro and Kazuko. As they healed, they also began to contribute to hunting and shelter. Suddenly, the island's population had grown to 34 people. At first, everyone was focused on survival. But as time passed, the balance shifted. On the island, there were 32 men besides Kikuchiro, and only one woman, Kazuko. The prolonged isolation, war trauma, and uncertainty began to bring out the most primitive instincts in some of the soldiers. Beyond the struggle for shelter and food, the way they looked at Kazuko and their intentions toward her began to change. And the island was no longer just a place of survival, but a stage where human nature was being tested. When Kazuko realized that the balance on the island was changing over time, she did not remain passive. She began to use the men's attention and jealousy to her advantage. She provoked them against each other, escalated minor rivalries, and established dominance over the group like an invisible force. As the years passed, Kikuchiro, as the only man with Kazuko, became the target of the others' anger and jealousy. In 1945, a few weapons and ammunition recovered from the wreckage of an American bomber that crashed on the island completely changed the balance of power. These weapons fell into the hands of a sailor named Yoshino. Using his newfound power, Yoshino shot Kikuchiro, resulting in the island's first bloody confrontation. After Kikuchiro's death, Kazuko sided with Yoshino. However, this alliance was not enough to protect Yoshino. The jealousy and anger of the other men was now directed at him. For a time, Yoshino ruled the island with the superiority provided by both the weapons and Kazuko, but he was caught off guard by another islander, Chiboi, and stabbed to death. Chiboi seized the weapons and declared himself the new leader by announcing his relationship with Kazuko. There were no written rules on the island, but everyone knew one truth. Whoever had the weapons had both the leadership and Kazuko. Throughout this process, Kazuko kept the men constantly pitted against each other to maintain control, never allowing anyone to completely distance themselves from her. Small rumors, innuendo, and psychological games kept the atmosphere perpetually tense. Before long, Chiboi shared the same fate. Someone else killed him too. This cycle repeated itself for years. Men who wanted to possess Kazuko fell out with each other one after another. Power changed hands, and each time another corpse was buried on this deserted island in the middle of the Pacific. A total of 11 men lost their lives in this competition. By 1950, the 21 survivors finally realized what was happening. They understood that this situation would end in death for everyone. As a solution, they planned to get rid of Kazuko. However, one of them, a simple soldier who wanted to be by her side as a last hope, told Kazuko about the plan. Upon learning of the situation, Kazuko immediately fled to the other end of the island. She hid for exactly 33 days. She did not light a fire so as not to be detected by smoke, tried not to leave any traces, and quietly continued to survive. At the end of the day, a ship appeared on the horizon. Spotting this U.S. Navy ship, Kazuko climbed a tree and managed to signal her location with torches. After years of chaos, she was rescued from the island. Upon returning to Japan, fate took an ironic turn. She was reunited with her first husband, Shoichi, who had left the island years earlier to search for his sister, and they remarried. Shoichi had been unable to return to Anatahan because of the outbreak of war, and believed Kazuko had died with Kikuchiro. Kazuko did not tell Shoichi about the years she spent on the island or her 12 marriages, including the one with Kikuchiro. At first, she was hailed as a hero by the public for surviving on a deserted island. However, this fame did not last long. After Kazuko's departure, teams arriving on the island struggled to evacuate the men there. American soldiers dropped leaflets from the air announcing the end of the war, but the islanders thought it was a trap. After staying on the island for another year, they were convinced and evacuated. Only 19 soldiers were alive during the evacuation. After returning to Japan, the survivors recounted everything that had happened on the island in detail. As the truth emerged, Kazuko's heroic image quickly crumbled. Kazuko, known as the Queen of Anatahan, died in 1971 at the age of 51, living a modest life. What remained was the story of 11 men who killed each other for power, jealousy, and control. A tragedy left to rot on a volcanic island in the middle of the Pacific.